All right, let's call today is Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, meeting of the Southington Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Dave, could you please call the roll?
Alternate Commissioner Salmeri. Alternate Commissioner Gaida. Alternate Commissioner Ma.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Caird.
Here.
Commissioner Tedesco. Commissioner Sewell. Commissioner Coles.
Present.
Commissioner Britton.
Here.
Commissioner Chaplinsky.
Here.
Vice Chair Walowski.
Here.
And Chair Hammersley.
Hammersley's here. I did hear from Commissioner Tedesco that he wasn't going to be able to make it. Same with Commissioner Salmeri. I'm going to seat Commissioner Ma for Commissioner Sewell. And with that, we have a quorum. If we can all stand for Pledge of Allegiance, please. Can we all remain standing for a moment of silent reflection, please? All right, thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting on February 18th, 2025. Commissioner Walowski,
So moved, Mr. Chair.
is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Britton, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, Commissioner discussion. I believe we have 2. Commissioner Ma, do you have something you want to?
Yep, the district-wide facilities committee met on February 20th. You've probably heard
Could you get
for
closer?
years. Oh, we've been talking about updating our elementary schools in town. So the majority of our elementary schools have been updated with the exception of Flanders, Kelly, and Darrenowski. So this committee's met with planners and architects and decided that we had enough information to provide a recommendation to the Board of Ed, which was presented at their meeting on Thursday, and it sounds like they're moving forward with that information. And there'll be like a public meeting on April 1st where the community could come out and hear about this plan, ask questions, give input. And the first week of April, the Board of Ed will vote if they're going to move forward and present this to town council. So the
Okay.
plan we presented looks like building a new Kelly and then adding on at South End. That'd be like
Okay.
a phase 1 project.
All right. Well, thanks for that update, Tess. I appreciate it. Thanks. Any questions? No? Commissioner Chaplinsky, you have an update on the POCD.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to go over the committee that's going to handle the POCD. I know we had some discussions about it, and we had finalized the list to be Mr. Jamie Sewell, who's not here tonight, myself, Jen Klock, who's on the town council, Caleb, who's affiliated with our Planning and Zoning Commission, Ted Kabata, who's on the ZBA, Cecil Whitehead, who is on the Board of Ed, and Peter Santego, who's on the Library Board. So that's going to round out the commission, and we're looking forward to beginning, steps to be able to bring that to fruition and eventually engage the town folks to give their thoughts on how we should proceed for the next decade or so in this town.
All right. Thank you, Todd, for getting that done. Can we get a motion to approve that list of subcommittee members?
I'll make a motion to approve the POCD.
Commissioner Walowski, second by Commissioner Britton. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, Chairman's comments. I don't have anything. I'm going to read a preamble under that category, I guess, and just for everybody. Oh,
Point
Pat?
of order, what is a quorum? Is it 6 for us?
It's 5, I believe.
Right,
5.
There, you can seat one more.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, Kat. I should seat you. I forgot about Nick. So let's go back. Chemo brain, Kat. I still get it.
Okay.
I'll seat Commissioner. Did I seat you last, or was Christina sat last?
Yeah, it's my turn.
It's Kat's turn? Okay, so we'll see Kat in place of Commissioner Tedesco. So appreciate the catch there. Thank you very much. All right. Good for members of the audience. Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Robert Hammersley. I'm the chair of the commission, and I'd like to take a few moments to explain the meeting format. Aside from administrative items, which you just heard, tonight's meeting is comprised of 2 parts, a public hearing and a business meeting. During the public hearing, our applicants will present the application to us in detail, which will allow the commission members and the public the opportunity to better understand what is being proposed. The commission members may ask questions during the presentation if needed, and then we'll ask members of the public who support or oppose the application to speak. You come up to the podium here, give us your once you're recognized by the chair, give us your name and your address for the record, and let us know what your thoughts are. Be advised that this is the only opportunity for members of the public to ask questions or make comments on an application, because once a public hearing is closed, no additional testimony from the public or the applicant is permitted. It's important to maintain order and decorum at all times, and we'll make sure that we do that. After everyone's had a full opportunity to speak, all questions have been answered, and all information has been received, the commission members will decide whether it's appropriate to close a hearing. We will not consider voting on the application until the business meeting. During the business meeting, the commission deliberates on the applications submitted and will decide how to act on them. They could take one of 4 different actions. 1, they can approve an application as submitted. 2, approve it with stipulations, conditions, or modifications. 3, table an action for a future meeting. Or 4, in some cases, we deny an application. 4 affirmative votes of the commission are generally required to approve any application. If you have to leave the meeting tonight before a decision is rendered, feel free to contact the planning office, Dave LaValle, all the way down here on my left, your right, and he can fill you in on what happened after tonight's meeting, anytime after tomorrow. And with that, we'll move into our first public hearing, which is item number 9A, PGX Holdings LLC, petition to change a zone district boundary from an R40 to an Arch. Property located at 2279 Mount Vernon Road, also known as former Briarwood College property. This is zoned in R40, ZC 580. Mr. Bravino, or who are we gonna, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commission members. My name is Johnny Grumblatt, and I'm honored to represent the ownership group PGX Holdings LLC. We're here tonight with the shared hope for a new path forward as we seek the approval of the zone change from R40 to Arch Zone. The Briarwood campus is an exceptional property, but its current permitted use has proven to be a challenge. As it has been widely seen in recent years throughout the country with industrial and manufacturing buildings, but also and especially in the educational sector, many schools have remained vacant for many, many years after COVID. An adjustment to current market realities was and is required. Eventually, many of these facilities were converted to commercial centers or residential. Our vision is to transform this site into an age-restricted property benefiting the 55+ and elderly, and develop a vibrant community. We also plan to incorporate an additional small percentage of affordable workforce housing units, aligning with state programs pending availability. These will be additional to the deed-restricted units mandated by the town. The property's natural beauty, open space, wooded areas, trails, parks, and future amenities will make it an ideal location for this use. We believe this project will not only revitalize this site, but also positively contribute to the surrounding neighborhoods and the town of Southington as a whole. Additionally, this project will have no environmental impact, as we will use the existing buildings and footprint and just undertake interior renovations. So no new dwellings will be built on this site. We foresee this property attracting those looking to downsize, rid themselves from maintaining a home, or simply transitioning during their retirement, while doing so at a beautiful complex such as the Briarwood campus. I thank you for your attention and looking forward to your support and approval tonight. Mr. Bovino will now present and go into further details.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. Seth Bovino, planner of Kratzer Johnson Associates, represented the applicant. we have multiple maps that we would like to show you. We have some aerial shots, and then we have some ground level shots in addition to other maps. So I'm going to go through them. This is an aerial shot looking from the north onto the office area, the classroom area, which is at the corner of Welch Road and Mount Vernon Road. That's another angle shot for the same building there, springtime. That's a close-up of the same structures. These are the dormitories that were used by students over the years. That's an aerial view from the north, looking south. As you can see in the distance is Grannis Pond there. We have, actually, this is from the south looking north. That cul-de-sac is at the southerly end of the property. We have an area map. We have the townhouses again. In the distance there, in the foreground, that's the medical dental school that was built recently. It abuts the river, the Quinnipiac River, in the background there in Grannis Pond. And the foreground, that's the three-story building that's closer to Mount Vernon Road. Both of these buildings have elevators to allow to one-floor living. This is a view of the dental building, dental school. That's a view of the front of the property here with the flagpoles and the landscaped area and parking. That's the interior of one of the buildings. Another aerial map and overall of the site. To the top is Mount Vernon Road. To the right is Welch Road. As you can see, the driveway system and the roadway system throughout the property and the multiple buildings. And it leads, the roadway leads to the south where there is the recreation facilities down at this end of the property here. There's some data there. By the way, these were provided to staff. These again are the townhouses, units. Those are the internal layout of those units. Again, this is the overall. This is the internal layout of the three-story building next to Mount Vernon Road. These are the individual units, main floor, second floor, third floor. Again, we got some additional view there. That's the layout of the internal layout for the office area, the library. A close shot of the office building, looking from the south side. Interior layout. This is one of the buildings in the center of the property that was used for classrooms and dormitories. Interior layout of that. Again, this is the dental school. Layout of that. This is the maintenance garage on the southeast corner, on the northeast corner of the property that you can see from Welch Road. And here's an area view from the top. Another aerial shot from the northwest corner of the property at the intersection of Welch Road and Mount Vernon Road, right there. That's some general information. Distances to major cities in Connecticut and surrounding states. those are the aerial views and the ground level views. And I'm going to go to next. Let's see. There was a narrative submitted with the application describing pretty much what Mr. Grumblat has stated, and describes the number of buildings, the acreage of the property, the total area of the building square footage, which is 114,000 square feet. And then these are the ground level shots that we have in the package. Again, these are the townhouses with the unit layout on the inside. That's the dental school, the office area, garages, mixed-use building, dental school again, the descriptions associated with that. This information was in your packet. This aerial view of the property looking from south to north. On the left and right of the page, you have description of the buildings, and also you have indicated the number of units that could be housed in these buildings. So if you go from top to bottom, you'll have that description. I'm going to submit a list of those units, the names, and the number of units that can be built within those structures. Just to give you an example, the northwest corner of this map here, which is the upper left, that's LaConch Hall. It's 2,500 square feet. Below that, we have the Founders Hall, 10,000 square feet, and that would be possibly 20 units in that building. Below that, we have LaConch Hall again with 20 residential units possibly. It's basically this, you follow the leader and come to the building there in the center of the page. And then at the bottom of the page, bottom left, you have recreation facility in blue here, and where the recreation facilities are. And the Palmisano Hall, which is the 3-story building on the bottom here, which will occupy possibly 24 residential units. The same kind of description is to the right of the page. I'm going to go over a few other exhibits, and then I'm going to get back to this map just so it's easy to see where things are. Okay, these are the interior layouts, architectural interior layouts of the buildings. So these are 1-bedroom and studio units. The I believe the blue are the studio units, and then we have the greens are the 1-bedroom units. That's the Liquori Hall, which is the 3-story building. Similar situation, you have another building there which has the proposed layouts interior that you were interested in to know. 1-bedroom and a studio. First floor, studio apartments and 1-bedroom apartment. There's 16 studio apartments there and 4 1-bedroom apartments for a total of 20. These are the townhouses, which will have 14 studio apartment and no one-bedroom apartment. These will be converted all to studio apartments because the size of the space doesn't permit to provide enough space for,
That was the basement,
which one you,
the one you were just Brooks on.
this one?
Yeah, sorry. So this is Brooks Hall, the one that has the existing townhouses. This is the basement. Essentially, it's a full walk-in floor from the rear of the building. That's why you don't see units to the right or left. These are, this will be first floor, walking in through the lobby, through the main entrance of the building. These are 13 studio apartments and 12 one-bedrooms. And the second floor will be 21 bedroom apartments. So this building currently is, has a little over 20 units, 21 units, that are 3-bedroom townhouses, existing fully equipped kitchen, bathrooms, everything.
So we saw this before. Nothing here. Okay, this is a 3-story building. Second floor will be studio apartments and 1-bedroom apartments. Third floor will be studio apartments and 1-bedroom apartments, so it'll be a combination on all 3 floors for these. Total residential studio, I don't have a total, that's okay.
That's 24 units.
24 units?
Yeah. So essentially, this is kind of to give you an idea of what the unit breakdown is and essentially how many units per building. It is 6 different buildings that are existing in the property. That the concept is to gut them and put new units, all studios, 1-bedrooms, no 2-bedrooms in the property. We have additional space for amenities, depending on the building. Some have, some don't. The amenities are going to be accessible to all, as in one complex. This building particularly does not have amenities. Other buildings do. For example, Founders Hall, which is one of the 2 buildings in the front of the property, has essentially is almost like a donut type of construction, and has 1,285 square feet available for amenities, which will remain indoors. Obviously, the property itself lends itself to for the exterior to be used, the parks and all the exterior space to be used. But we definitely looking to include the sort of the typical amenities that or the most sought out amenities that are typical in the 55 plus and elderly communities. I don't want to name any, but are the ones that we can think of. Could be an art room, could be a library, a quiet space, all different types of amenities and spaces to make a real comfortable lifestyle. So I know we ripped through this, but it's essentially the concept is there. It's all the buildings besides the maintenance building will be converted within the footprint. So no building up, no building extensions. It's using the existing footprint to convert them into the complex. There's also a pool house that is not in the drawings, that again that is existing, was used as a game room while the pool was covered decades ago. I don't know how far back that goes, but nonetheless, the pool is still there. Yes, everything needs to be brought up to code. but that it is our intention to revamp that as well and bring it back to life as an additional amenity.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to utilize this map throughout the presentation, Mr. Chairman. So this property, as we discussed, is at the corner of Welch Road and Mount Vernon Road. The address is 2279 Mount Vernon Road, just south of the Lake Compounds facility. This property is known as Briarwood College, was used at one time as indicated by 800 people, students and staff combined. The property is zoned R40, served by public water and septic systems. It contains 33 acres of land, which slopes west to east and north to south, west to east, north to south, and some goes to the center of the property where there's a stream here into a pond and then out to 8 Mile River to the east. There are 7 buildings of various sizes and shapes totaling 114,000 square feet. We have submitted the application for a zone change request to an arched zone. We have submitted an area map showing properties within 500 feet of the property. We have notified all property owners. Proof of mailing was submitted to staff. We also have provided an existing condition map showing the existing improvements like buildings, parking, curb cuts, existing grades, wetlands, and floodplains. We have provided a traffic statement letter which indicates a reduction in traffic from the previous use, was provided by Fuss and O'Neill. They are referring to the IT manual to develop those facts. I am now submitting a statement of facts related to the property. Part of the requirement is to indicate what the effects are on the property by granting this zone change. These are multiple copies that you can share. So what we're saying is that,
Seb, can you get closer to the mic, please?
yes, sorry. Facts of the developments are that under the conventional development, we're comparing a conventional development to a planned unit development like we're doing now. The open space under that development would be 1.3 acres. That's required by the regulations. Under this development, we're providing a minimum of 6 acres of open space. But it will be a lot more than that because as you can see, the property is surrounded by green, a lot of grass areas. The number of units under regular development would be 28 units. Under this proposal is 150 units, all within the existing buildings. The 28 units will be single-family home, large single-family homes, 2,500 to 3,000 square feet. And this proposal has individual units, 350 square feet, which are the studio units, to 1,000 square feet for the one-bedroom. Number of children in school under regular development will be 42 children. Under this development, there would not be any children attending the local school. The taxes currently are $79,228. We estimate the taxes in the future could be $200,000 plus. It would have to be determined, obviously. After the construction is done, the assessor will determine the values. The roads will be, in a regular development, will be town-maintained. In this case, all the roads and facilities will be maintained by the property owner. The buffer zone under regular development, there's no requirement for buffers. And under this proposal, there's a minimum, under the arched zone, there's a minimum buffer of 20 feet, but we are able to provide a lot more than that. As you can see, all those gray wooded areas along the east, southwest, along Mount Vernon Road, and the southerly property line. So those are the facts of the development. We did talk about the number of units, described them, which building will have those units, but I have prepared a package here that you can have and look through them, and it lists the name of the building with the number of units that we propose to develop into. We have submitted, as you can see, the architectural units details for each building. I have submitted the number of units planned for each building. The aerial maps shows the buildings and the proposed number of units for each. The process for an R zone application is a two-step process. We are doing a step one. We're taking the first step in the process by providing the zone change request, the appropriate maps related to that zone change request, which is existing condition map / site plan, and area map with the names of property owners within 500 feet. The purpose of the R zone is, number one, to provide a flexibility in development. Number two, to increase the type of housing over privately owned communities targeted to empty nesters and seniors. Number three, to promote preservation of open space. Number four, to achieve the POCD goals mentioned in Section 10 and 11. Section 10 encourages redevelopment of existing underutilized buildings and sites. Section 11 asks the town to address the housing needs of the aging population, offers more housing choices for moderate income people who work in this area. Our proposal is to utilize the existing buildings, rehab them to provide 150 units of one-bedroom and studio apartments. Two of the buildings have elevators, as I indicated. The buildings that were used for offices can be one-floor living. The goal is provide 20% of units to be for workforce housing. The incentive to develop these buildings as proposed are: one, utilization of existing buildings; two, provide active over 55 housing; three, provide workforce housing; four, provide more open space, more space for outdoor recreation. Number five, no children to attend schools. Number six, no road and utilities maintenance for the town of Southington to maintain. Number seven, increase the tax base. No additional environmental impact. We are reducing the carbon footprint because we're not cutting down trees and building these buildings. We're reutilizing the existing facilities. We believe that this request meets the intent of the Arch Zone regulations. We believe that its implementation will not be detrimental to the health and welfare of the neighborhood or the town Southington as a whole. We respectfully request that you consider approving this application, and if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer.
Thank you, Seth. Could you, before we open it up to members of the commission, ask a question? Could you just outline real briefly the process you all have gone through? I know that there's some activity or some application to ZBA with regards to this development. Could you just speak to that real quickly?
Yes, we have applied to the ZBA for variance related to the use of this facility for rental space, the use of this facility to use existing building versus building a new. The current Arch Zone regulation requires that most of the units be single families. Some of the units, up to 30%, can be duplexes. In this case, we have to have most of these units be attached units, so we need a variance for that. So those are the kind of variances we're applying to the ZBA. And we need first this commission to approve the zone change before we can then present it to them.
Right, and then assuming that we approve the zone change tonight or subsequently, you get a variance from ZBA, you would then come back here with an actual site plan which details what the actual plan would be that you're submitting for development, correct?
Yes, the process requires that we come back to you through the special permit which means another notification to people within 500 feet. We had a full-blown site plan, again, reviewing the parking, the drainage, all the buildings, the landscaping, the lighting, and all that. We will have to come back for you, your final approval, yes.
Okay. So, again, I appreciate that. I just wanted to lay the groundwork for everybody in the audience who might be listening, as well as members of the commission as well, on what we're looking at. I'm going to open it up to members of the commission. I'm just going to remind everyone.
Mr. Chairman, because of that scheduling issue, we appreciate if you could consider acting on this tonight.
We'll see what we could do.
Thank you.
As always, we try to expedite this stuff
Yeah.
as much as possible. I'm just going to remind members of the audience and members of the commission, tonight we were talking about a zone change. We are not talking about a site plan necessarily, although a conceptual site plan is required as part of our regulation for a zone change. But I don't want people to get bogged down in what these buildings are going to look like, what color paint is going to be on them, any of that type of stuff. We're not talking about that right now. Assuming that they make it through these first two hurdles, then and only then will we be talking about that type of stuff, which of course, should it come to that, we will have that conversation at that appropriate time. But that is not the purpose of tonight's application. So with that, I'm going to open it up to members of the commission to ask questions of clarification to the applicant. Commissioner Woloski will lead us off.
All right, so not exactly sure where to begin because I have multiple questions. So just to touch briefly on the application itself, conceptual, understood, but you used aerial photography, proposed roads, parking locations. You're saying that nothing is changing? You're not going to change parking up near buildings? You're going to make individuals walk? Is there parking near all these, quote-unquote dormitories?
There are 311 parking spaces right now. So we believe that we can utilize the existing parking spaces. Actually, in north part of the property, we can actually, right here, you can
Okay.
utilize all these parking spaces.
I'm talking about near the units
And near
specifically,
the
which are
units
deep
over
in
here,
the
there's
campus.
Existing parking areas there now.
All right,
So to be specific, there's plenty of parking right there. There is parking right behind here, behind this building. And there's
Okay.
parking right there, and there's parking all around here. So there's parking throughout the building with ADA markings and everything, throughout the parcel.
That would be addressed at site plan time if there's a small
understood. However, the
modification.
conceptual plan, I believe, is a little
Yeah.
weak. Seb, I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's
However,
indicated on
all
the
right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. Section 4.E-3 states the purchase of a dwelling unit for investment purposes by an entity or an individual not intending to occupy the dwelling is prohibited. How are we addressing this?
Yeah, first, we feel that that's not applicable to zone change, that's more related to that variance, but we do have a legal opinion that we can submit to you if you want to see it.
I think it's integral to the arch zone as it's written.
The intention is that what we believe is that regulation addresses single ownership of the units. This is going to be owned by one entity, one individual, and that we feel that does not apply to it, and we have a legal opinion that we can submit for the commission to review.
You can submit whatever you'd like.
Where is it?
If you could continue your questioning, then we'll do that all at once then.
All right, so then my next question would be the density. I mean, what are we talking about here? 150 units, the current arch zone doesn't address that. So I just want to hear how you're addressing, what are your thoughts on the density, which seems to be,
The lot coverage would be a lot less than if we do a typical over 55 community, because we're utilizing the existing buildings.
let me it's currently zoned R40,
Yes,
so you're taking the jump to an arch zone, which you don't have yet.
correct.
So,
That's why
please-
we're asking.
How are you, currently, the arch zone doesn't allow for the density that you're proposing. What is your proposal to attain
Oh,
the
you're
density
referring to
that
the
you're
density.
seeking?
The density, currently, the arch zone requires, allows 3.5 units per acres, which you multiply 33 acres, 3.5, and we allowed over 100 units. And we'll be submitting an application to the zoning board of appeal. That's an additional variance request to go from the 3.5 per acre to 5 units per acre.
So that's
Which
two
will be-
variances that you're going to be seeking.
Multiple variants.
Multiple variances subsequent to what we say.
Yes.
That's a big ask.
Because the first step is to achieve the zone change, then with the variance on the zone change for the individual requirements. So right now, you could approve the zone change request, the arch. You're not approving the site plan tonight.
Understood.
So then-
Understood.
then-
However,
Then if the ZBA does not approve our variances, we have two choices. Either we don't do anything, or we proceed to the arch under your current regulations.
all right. I,
To give, if I may, should we talk about the 3.5 to the 5?
Yes.
So, I think you're lacking some color, and I'm gonna try to give it to the best of my abilities. So, two things. Your first question was on the 4.E3. The way we interpret that is essentially the issue is when a property is age restricted, the question is what control is there on the application of that restriction. So when it comes to a complex per se that is owner occupied, and one property gets sold to an investor, one off property gets sold to an investor, and that investor then rents it to anyone, who's imposing or who's checking on that restriction, right? In our case, which we believe it does not apply, is since the entire complex is under a management company, the management company's duty is to follow the regulations. So it's not as if one unit can fall off of that regulation because no one is checking. This is the other way around. It has more scrutiny through the management company. So we believe that the regulation, and we interpret this, and we have legal opinion for it, that is true, that regulation is true in a owner-occupied dwelling complex. That would stand. In our case, we don't, we interpret as, and like I said, we have legal opinion for it, that it does not apply, since we can actually impose those regulations even better. So that's to kind of give you a little bit of color on that.
let me address that
Sure.
one point first.
Sure.
So you have a legal opinion.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to ask our town planner, or at least we would have the right to get a legal opinion on our own if your interpretation is correct. But secondly, Dave, just if you would indulge me, where do you
Sure.
see this coming down as a
Well, Mr. Chairman,
zoning expert?
I thought that question was being asked and answered through the ZBA process. So they're seeking a variance to have it available for rental and not owner occupied, like condoing each unit or what have you. That's why I didn't go too far into it, because if they felt they're on solid ground, they wouldn't require the variance, in my mind. It's the first I'm seeing this, so I'd really have to absorb it and look through it. Again, I'm not an attorney, but I would see how it applies to the regs as I read them.
I can say something.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah.
That was the reason that we didn't submit this letter of opinion before, because we know we're going to go to the zoning board of appeal for the variance. And if they don't approve the variance, then we can deal with the opinion, the legal opinion. Again, The current request is for arch zone for this property, which was previously approved, the same concept in this zone. R40 allows for this request to be made, and again, if it fails, everything fails, we will go either to follow the regulation as they're written, or we just don't do anything. So that's what we ask them to take a step in the process to be able for us to move forward with this project. It's an unusual situation, that's for sure.
All right, well, I'll yield the floor
So-
to fellow, go ahead, Dave, I know you were going to say something.
Just a first blush look at it, it's assuming that it's going to be allowed to be rented. The regs, as I see them, don't really speak to that it is allowed as rentals, they're owner occupied.
Next question, are there currently any arch zone housing
Not
that
that-
allows rental?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, so we've got a precedent of that, so this would be, hence the variance, why? So it would be groundbreaking for something like this to be approved.
The variance
That
goes
fair?
on the property, not townwide. It applies to the property, and the property has to have a certain specific situations, just that applies to the property. It's not a townwide situation. Otherwise, the zoning board of appeal cannot grant the variance.
Understood that, I was on zoning board of appeals, I know how it works.
Yep.
Thank you.
I do want to address your other question on the density, how we get to 150. 150 does sound like a large number. Nonetheless, with our presentation tonight, sort of the feasibility that we offered shows that we can have these amount of units and have common areas and amenities as well. But nonetheless, again, this is more ZBA, but just to kind of give you a little bit on that, the regulation reads essentially that a property on 30 acres plus on septic is allowed to have 3.5 units per acre. On sewer is allowed to have 5 units per acre. Essentially, the variance that we're requesting at ZBA is to be able to tap into, or to get that relief to jump from 3.5 to 5 units. Essentially, that's what we're asking for. And we have provided, and we will provide again, our, essentially how, based on what. We know that the soil is one of the best in the States. We have multiple reports showing this. And the absorption of, from the septics is one of the best, given that it is very sandy, sand soil. So essentially, we would be almost in an equal, if not better position than sewer. I would say probably equal. That's why we feel we can request this variance.
So
to
you will not be
support.
proposing sewer or a pump station?
Correct.
Yeah, and we have plenty of space on the northerly end over there. There's a large space area which is not utilized we could use for SEP systems, for the additional space that we're providing in those two buildings to the north.
So I think in short, there's a lot of details and there's still many items that we need to go through in order to get to, to present the full plan. When the time comes, we still have a lot of work ahead. This is pretty much the first step to getting started with that. There's, plenty of items that we need to go through. One of those items is on the septic side. There are three buildings that we need to increase the size, so there's testing that needs to be done for that. But nonetheless, in order for us to undertake all of that work, we need to get through tonight, essentially.
I understand,
Yeah.
but with all due respect,
Yeah.
Mr. Vivino did at the beginning of the presentation
Yeah.
mention a timeline, and, accelerating through everything you just gave us probably isn't going to happen. So, there you go.
You all set?
I'm all set.
Okay. Any other members of the commission have any questions of the applicant at this time? Caleb?
Hi. Actually, this might be one first, I'll start off with this. So, this is for staff. So we would be approving, or we would be voting on what we can, we're not looking to approve on the 150 units, not that we're doing a site plan, but the projected would be 150 units. We can't even look at that. We're just saying, if we were to say, wave our magic wand, this passes today, they can only build what our regulations approve, which would be 103, I
So,
think he said.
so our process sets out that they're required, any applicant is required. The arch zone is a floating zone, right?
Yep.
It's applicable to R12, R25, R40 properties, which means it can go anywhere within those zones. Applicants are required, as part of the process, to provide us with a conceptual site plan, which it lists what that is to include, right? There's like, I'll say like a dozen different things, right? Proposed roads, building locations, parking locations, common areas, landscape areas, community facilities, utilities, proposed green space. It's all outlined in 4E7.3.3, if you want to look it up under the regulations. They're required to give us that. That's what we're weighing in on. The ZBA process would come after this if this is successful. If we don't approve this as an art zone, then I would imagine that the ZBA process is mute because the application really isn't for arch, which means that the site would have to go back to some other plan, I suppose. Whatever the owner wanted to do with the property, so long as it meets our regulation.
But as proposed, it doesn't meet our regulation. But 150 doesn't fit
Correct.
at all.
I think that's some of what we're trying to clear up.
Right, okay.
Is that accurate, Dave?
The strict
Sorry.
interpretation of the regs is that what's required is the concept plan, and the concept plan has to be in conformance with the regs. So what they're trying to do eventually is get into conformance with modified regulation via the variance. So it's a catch-22, what comes first?
Right.
Where does that fall?
So they don't, their concept is outside of our accepted regulations. Okay. That's clear.
If I may, you're not approving the number of units, you're approving just a zone change, which then has its own regulations, and we would have to follow that.
But we're
If
basing
nothing
that.
happens.
Yep, but we're basing that on the concept, because
Yeah.
that's required as a submittal
Yes.
to make this change.
Yeah.
So I have to weigh that,
Yeah.
we have to weigh that.
We submitted multiple maps. One is this one here, then we have the area map, which shows property owners within 500 feet. Then we have the site plan, basically, that's part of the application that shows the parking and the driveways, the buildings, and all the grades on the property.
Okay, all
And
right.
and the intention is to keep it pretty much the same.
So I think I know how I feel about that part. Couple more quick questions. I looked at the traffic study. Is this part of site, is traffic study more part of
I
site?
don't think it's required under the regulation that a traffic study
Only
be
on- Mr. Chairman,
proposed.
Only under the site plan.
Well, yeah, not at this
Oh.
time.
So if there
Okay.
are 200-plus spaces or 75 peak trips a day,
Let me just give a general question, not necessarily about the
Yes.
site itself. So the previous use in the traffic study says that there was 800 to 1,000 students that visited the site on a weekly basis, or a daily basis during the week. What is the projected, and again, part of this is a projection, how many residents, when fully occupied, are we projecting here?
I think if we go.
At 150, yeah, because,
If we go by,
Can
if we
we
go by
get,
double.
can we get into the
occupancy-
mic there so we can hear it, please?
Sorry. If we go by double occupancy, that'll be 300. I don't believe there will be 300, probably be less than that. but that's, I mean, at double occupancy, that's what it would be.
Okay, all right, yeah, and that just speaks to the density that I'm concerned with. I think that's it.
Okay.
I think you
All
got
set.
it.
Any other questions from members of the commission at this time to the applicant? All right, seeing none, we're gonna open it up to the public, okay? After, the process is, once that's done, take notes. We're gonna ask you to come up, I'm taking notes too. We're gonna ask you to come up and respond to anything that was brought up. And then we'll perhaps go through another round of commissioner questions to you all as well.
Sounds good,
Okay?
thank you.
So at this time, we're going to open it up to members of the public who are in support of this application. If they can come to the podium, and please again state your name and your address for the record. Again, anyone who supports this application, please come to the podium. Going twice? All right. Anyone who is opposed to the application or is on the fence of the application, please come up to the podium. Again, start with your name and your address and share your thoughts with us, please.
Good evening, Board. Jonathan Potter, 176 Mountain Pond Road, just off the abutters list. And when you go to the end of my driveway and you look north, you can pretty much see the property, so pretty close by. I thought I was going to speak in favor of this, but they presented their plan, so I'm not. And a couple of things. One is the age-restricted housing is a nice idea. The town really did their homework when they planned it out, and it's nice and flexible. A couple things I like about it. Standalone units, that's good, comes from 4E31 in the code. Owner occupied, rentals prohibited, 4E32. The building footprints shall be varied by avoiding long expanses of single plane walls. We get the other photo up, you're going to see long expanses of single pane walls. What they've just proposed just does not fit the character of the neighborhood. Took them till about 2/3 of the presentation to say the word apartment. And they didn't say rental until you guys started asking. They're really trying to avoid that. Rentals do not fit the character of our neighborhood. Did I miss anything? Oh, they're going to talk about hardships if they even ever get there. I was looking at an example of a hardship. They're really talking about finances. I mean, why don't you just get a check from me and my neighbors to get rid of them, right? I saw an example of a hardship that.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah.
I'm just going to remind you, we're talking about an arch zone change. We're not at the point of talking about hardships or any of that type of thing. So please, let's try to defer from those comments. That's more appropriate at a later stage and probably to a different body than this one.
Yeah, but we do need to set the stage, Mr. Chair, about where they're going, and we need to put an end to this in as many locations as we possibly can. So, all right, thank you for the guidance.
Yep.
I'll wrap there. I did have some information on hardships. I'll wrap. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
I just think that if they get past this stage and they get the ZBA, those comments are warranted at that point. It just isn't
Yep.
here, so.
Yes, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate you coming out. Any questions? All right, thank
Thanks.
you. Thanks. Anyone else who's opposed or, as I said, on the fence on this one, if you can come up to the podium, give us your name and address, please.
How are you? I'm Lisa Marshall. I'm 77 Mountain Pond Road. I live directly behind the property. I'm going to give you a picture of what, looking out my back porch, how I see the property. I noticed in the previous application in 2020 for the RC zone that they had included like green spaces, land for the floodplains were all mapped out, how they were going to block off my property from like whether it would be a screen, a wall, or something else. So I just want you guys to get an idea of what I look at. In 2020, when 2279 Mount Vernon Road was applied for as an RC, I was able to be convinced it was a good fit for the R40 property. All aspects displayed in 2020, in their 2020 conceptual plan, showed that they met the RC elements, criteria, and characteristics of the area. I'm having a hard time conceptualizing how this current application meets the criteria of an RC. I'm also having a hard time seeing how the pending variance would meet the criteria of the RC and the characteristics in the area it is in. I also question how we have a current date, which I saw on one of the PFDs going back and forth, for a variance request is scheduled for March 11th, if we haven't established a zone. And no final site plan for that zone was discussed. I understand that this night would be the conceptual plan, then if approved, you would come up with a site plan, and at that time, I thought you would do a variance or variance request. I'm not understanding why a March 11th, which is next week, is already scheduled, unless I'm wrong. I also question how one can't make a logical, legal, informed decision on a zone change if we are mixing in elements of owners' intentions and pending variances. It appears we haven't proven how this RC application meets the zone requirements in 2020. To me, it looks like a supersized ham sandwich apartment complex application in an R40 district with no benefits to the town, surrounding property, or the natures of the RC zone. I am seeing the need of using existing buildings and exceeding density limits of the town. Rentals and not ownership, single and no single units or duplexes being addressed. This is an apartment. Apartments don't belong in R40 or in RC. In 2020, Mr. Bovino, in his application, outlined step-by-step how this property could be of value to including everybody, nature, surrounding properties, if done right. He broke down each element of the criteria in his conceptual plan and explained what was going to be done. He discussed floodplain areas, open spaces, traffic, nature, surrounding neighborhoods, water, septic, and et cetera. In the owner's pamphlet from the initial variance, he discussed where we go from here. And I'm only using this because I did see in email correspondence if he could use the same like plan of action, and it was in the pamphlet that was displayed up there tonight. He talks about rental income intentions, upscale features for the 55-year-old community, including football fields, soccer fields. I believe he mentioned a sand volleyball pit for the 55-year-old community. I did see an outdated Webster 2018 property conditions report used in that pamphlet, and I believe that's outdated. It was before he bought the property, before the property was trashed, before the property went to court for violations, et cetera. So that property report is not updated. Nowhere is it discussed how the application will fit the criteria, meet the characteristics, and benefit all. It just states the best use, a needed demand, and no impact on education. He forgets how they plan to conform to the characteristics of the surrounding properties in the same residential zone. I believe just last week, the property right next door was donated to the Land Conservatory of the town. And that talked about the nature in that area, the wetlands, the floodplains, the animals. And this is a property right next door, not a property to go over the density levels and become an apartment building. His traffic report, as you said, I believe goes over the density. I believe it's an outdated report. Briarwood never had 800 to 1,000 people there. I've been there since 2020. I've never seen that many people. I did see things saying about the amount of people that live there, but you have to imagine that up until 2004, there was only one dormitory, and I believe it was way less than the quoted amounts. And we don't even have how West Street is going to be impacted with the new apartments that will be started this year. So if we're going to add 150 apartments, possibly 300 people, visitors, maintenance, whatever, and then you add that into the mix, it could be a disaster. In 2020, Mr. Bovino had talked about the bulk requirements of the property in his conceptual plan, again, before the site plan, because I don't think that ever panned out. He had talked about that it was, you had to take 50% of the floodplain areas to add into your capacity, and I believe it was either 20 or 30% of something else. I forget offhand. However, he had come up with a number of 83 single-family or duplex apartments. Basically, 150 versus 83 is doubling the density. So that's too much. In the bulk requirements, we also talk about height. Some of these buildings are 3 floors. I believe that would possibly go over the height requirements of the property. Again, not fitting the characteristics of single-family or duplexes. And I think, he had also talked about the benefits as far as to the community or to the town as far as taxes. He just tonight quoted a possible tax benefit to the town of 200 plus. In 2020, he had a tax benefit of 540,000. And I would imagine that would even be higher, given the fact that taxes have gone up since 2020 when the application approved. His entire conceptual plan was a plan that you would want to live in for a 55-year-old community. It talked about nature. It talked about the surrounding residential properties. It talked about the benefit to the town, talked about benefit to the neighbors. It talked about benefits to the 55-year-old community. There were beautiful apartments, single-family or duplexes shown. And it met the criterias. He plotted out the floodplains. I went through that entire application probably multiple times. I'm not seeing anything addressed. Oh, I have one more point. They talked about the soil being good for the septic use. Now, in 2020, there was a letter from, I believe, an Amy Schultz. And that stated that the soil hadn't been tested as of that date in 2020. I'm not seeing anything that's showing that the soil has been tested for the septic, but that septic has not been used, or was developed in like the 60s when the property first went up. And at that time, if you go back and read all the correspondence as far as whether or not a septic can be used, it doesn't appear that that is going to be an option. It did say there was another letter that spoke about that public water was available in that area. You could hook up to sewers. However, the septic is a big issue, especially with the floodplains and the age of the septic and so on and so forth. It could be a disaster to the surrounding areas. And I really hope that no one approves this. It doesn't go in an R40. It's an apartment complex with a lot of units. And, you know, currently, right now, in 2020, it was mentioned how the property could be beneficial as a R40. It could also be beneficial as an RC. The last meeting we had here, I don't know if it was rumors, but somebody said that there were actually 3 people looking or listening in who wanted to do a private boarding school. I looked up the school of what I thought they owned in New York. It was beautiful. That would be profitable. That would fit into the community. That would fit into the R40 zone. I also have a very good friend. He's done ArchZs. He's done apartments. He's done construction. He was actually saying that he was thinking about looking at the property. The property can be sold. It's just got to be maintained, updated. You can't have a guy on a lawnmower mowing the grass every once in a while with a residential road. The property has gone downhill. Needs to be spruced up. We can market it. We can sell it either as an RC or as an R40, but an R40 done right.
Okay. Lisa, is that your name?
Yeah.
Okay, any questions? Nope? No, thank you. Sir, come on up. I hope you have a riding lawnmower to get out there and mow that lawn, though. That's a big piece of property to be mowing.
He did, yeah. You can see that. My name's Jonathan Lee. I'm at 102 Mountain Pond Road. Thank you, commissioners, for listening to me. Just wanted to join in. I'm not rehash a lot of the old stuff, but I am opposed to it as a homeowner there. Main concern is just the change that this would bring to the neighborhood, in the sense that going from an R40, which is our neighborhood, to an RC, especially with potential housing densities, which aren't to be discussed here, but still are on the table. The other thing is whether or not, let's see, sorry, I lost my track. But it would essentially change the character of the neighborhood by going to that, from an R40 with open space to an RC development with potentially higher density population. Let's see. Obviously, I'm sure they'll think of this and address this, but, strains on local resources and everything else. They are right next to wetlands and everything else. It actually, one of the feeds into Grannis Pond runs right along the side of their property there. And then that goes into what used to be Pine Valley Golf Course, which the last developer there was not able to develop. And then just in general, the increase in traffic density and usage density, just with potentially, if they get 150, 300, whatever, that is a concern that will substantively change the nature of our neighborhood. So that's
Okay,
it.
all right.
Thanks very much.
Any,
Yes.
Caleb? Yep.
Sorry, so I'm just going to try to,
Sure.
I'm going to ask the questions from everybody through you, if you could help me out here.
I'd be glad.
So, how long have you lived in the neighborhood?
Since 98.
98? So you were around when the school was open?
Yes.
All right, so when the school was open and we saw the traffic report of somewhere over 2,000 trips a day. So, ballpark.
Yeah.
We'll be liberal with that one.
Sure.
And for this, they're looking at somewhere around 300 trips a day. So we have heard a lot of conversation about the nature of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
This is the neighborhood. These buildings have been there a long time before your neighborhood was.
Right.
So that's the thing I struggle with. And
Sure.
that's a lot of residents, but there were residents there before in the dormitories. Not 300.
No.
But but they were there. The bigger thing is the daily traffic that went up and down Welch Road. So I don't know if you can comment to that or just kind of help me kind of process it a little bit, but I would appreciate your insight.
Sure, I mean, in my experience, when the school was fully operating, when it was Briarwood, and then when it was later, I forgot the name, Longwood. Longwood? Lincoln, sorry, Lincoln College. I would travel that, I was driving that road every day, going to work. That was before hybrid and everything else, so we were traveling a lot. To be honest with you, I never really noticed much, and neither did my wife, in terms of that when the students were there, the traffic, because they would come in the morning and then they'd be gone early on. It didn't seem to be, not like West Street is now, for that matter. So we didn't notice that much. I wasn't sure if there was that much there, but it was, you know, it's a concern, I guess, that we would have, whether or not that this would affect it differently because it's a different type of traffic. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate your insight into that, especially since you're there since '98. That kind of helps.
Yeah, but I was also working in Danbury, so I wasn't really around during the peak time of travel for the area. I'd come home like 7, 8 o'clock at night, so.
God bless you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Okay, yep. Any other questions? No? Anyone else? Hi.
Jeffrey Monty, 53 Mountain Pond Road. I'm one of the abutters, somewhere around that lower line. So I've been there since 2002, built our house there. I'm a little bit on the fence. I'm much like my friend John. I was on the fence with the ArchZ. I guess I'm opposed to this site plan, the proposed site plan. Single-family units, my mother-in-law lives at Applegate. Thank you. Single-family freestanding homes, I think, are something that Southington needs. I don't think this is what Southington needs. Turning 56 this year, I was picking it out when Lovely had his site plan. I'm like, okay, we can go in this corner in about 10 years. But I don't think this is what people in Southington would want. Applegate houses that are freestanding, there's a house that sold, sight unseen, before it even got listed, because that's what people want in the town. I don't think this is in the best interest of Southington.
All right. Any questions for Jeffrey? All right, thanks for coming out, appreciate it. Anyone else? All right, let's get the applicant up there. I saw you taking notes, I assume they were copious, so we'll give you a first shot. If you miss anything on my list, then we'll come back, so go ahead.
I tried.
Again, just give us your name and your address, just so we can get it.
Johnny Grunblatt, 2279 Mount Vernon Road, Southington. So, first of all, thank you for coming out and speaking so passionately about your, how you feel about the project. Where do I begin? So, I guess I want to discuss a little bit about the activity that we know of that the school had to what we're proposing now. And I thank you, Commissioner, for trying to clarify a bit of that. I just want to premise that based on the existing footprint, based on the existing dorms, we can sleep there 440 people, as it is now. That is just amount of beds, quantity of beds. Aside from that, we have classrooms and everything else. So our number, 800 to 1,000 students, this comes from the previous owner. It's not something that we made up. Now, when we talk about a school, a high school, or a school in general, we could talk about recreational sports. We could talk about competition, noise, music, announcements in loudspeakers. We can talk, about what that activity looks like. I have a kid in college, and I know exactly what that looks like. And it's almost a little bit scary. I'm not too far from 55. I have a few years to go, but it almost seems like our elderly almost don't matter. Not everyone can afford a single-family house, and everyone is entitled to live in a beautiful complex. My mother-in-law lost her husband. My father-in-law passed away 2 years ago. She moved, she sold her home, a 4-bedroom house, sold her house. She's probably not gonna like that I talk about her, but, or she's gonna love it. But in any case, she sold her home and she moved to a 1-bedroom apartment in a 55-plus rental community. She absolutely loves it. She has new friends, neighbors. She loves it. My parents sold their home, moved into a 2-bedroom apartment when they were empty nest. So, it's almost scary because we believe that we found the best and most valuable on all angles for the town, for the property itself, the perfect project. The least invasive for the town, the one that's gonna bring more people downtown. These are people that spend, these are people that go out, these are people that bring money to the town and bring life to the town. A few things that were mentioned. A tremendous amount has changed since Lincoln College has been there, and I'm talking market conditions. We've been marketing this property for essentially since mid-2021, which is when we acquired it. We had, I don't have it on me, but I have a list probably of 30 different institutions that came to see the property. Someone mentioned about an institution that came to see it recently. Yes, they did, but they didn't move forward. Had I wished they moved forward, everyone would have wished they moved forward. We've been in that predicament so many times that we essentially need to make a difference. We cannot keep this property vacant. Not for us, not for the town, not for vandalism, not for unsecure situations, unsafety situations. It's not serving any purpose to anyone, to the property, nor to the neighbors. So essentially, we're proposing a change. We're proposing to bring life back to the site and to do it in the most responsible, respectful, and beautiful way. So that's why we're here tonight. Someone mentioned about the septics and the years of the septics. I just want to premise that 2 of these buildings, one was built in 2004, one was built in 2008, fully ADA compliant, elevator, sprinkler system, everything. Fully, brand new buildings. The rest of the buildings are older, yes. Nonetheless, everything is functioning properly. So I would leave that to the engineers to report on the quality of the septics when the time comes and we need to get through that hurdle. Like I said before, we know we have a lot of work ahead of us. This is not a small project. And we're looking to face each one of those hurdles at the right time, in the right way, and get all necessary approvals. I just want to also mention that the property is fully approved by the DEP. All septics everything is up to date, so no questions there. I think I addressed, someone mentioned about the building characters. The buildings, some of them have been there since the 60s. That is the character of the buildings. We haven't even gotten to the design or is there a need to a design to upgrade the way the buildings look We don't feel the buildings are out of character with the neighborhood itself. Should that come to, to play, we will definitely take a look at that. And again, we're not looking for an invasive project. We're looking for a project that will bring life back to this property. Someone mentioned condition reports. The property has not changed. The property hasn't even had one wall moved. The property hasn't had any upgrades. Everything remains exactly the same. If anything, it's deteriorating. Not due to management or not due to not cutting the grass or not trimming the bushes. That's not what we're talking about. As the years go by, every property loses its strength and its value, general value. So, yes, the buildings are decaying and they're just looking worse every day. We're looking to stop that trend and get back on track with the right project. So, I think someone mentioned also about the Lincoln College operation. Lincoln College ceased operation in 2020, so I'm not sure, she moved to the town in 2020, so I'm not sure what experience she had with Lincoln College. Nonetheless, I think we showed, I think we gave you pretty much our direction of what we're thinking based on what we have, based on what we believe we can work with through ZBA, the work that we have ahead of us with many other items. We know it's a lot that we're taking on, and we know that we have a lot of work ahead of us. This is one step, and probably the first step of that big puzzle. And we hope that you essentially get that message that we know we have a lot of work ahead of us, and these are our intentions, but we need you to essentially give us that support in this first step so we can continue going with this project.
Okay. Can I, no, not right now. Could I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
Okay. Our zoning regulations set up a process for age-restricted cluster housing. It's listed under 4E7. The process is clearly listed there. There's a number, I believe there's three different things, 4 or 5 different things that are required under that entity, right, or under that regulation. Under item 4E7.3, it states that an application must provide a conceptual site plan that shall include the following materials. A is existing conditions plan. All right, I think you guys have that, right? It's one of the slides that's there. I'm looking at the one that shows the 500-foot radius. That's an existing conditions plan. Under B, it says that the site plan shall be drawn in not less than 1 inch equals 100 feet and shall show the following: proposed roads, building locations, parking locations, common areas, landscaped areas, community facilities, utilities, and proposed green space. I don't see a site, or I haven't seen as part of our packet or the presentation, a conceptual site plan that meets that requirement. The existing conditions plan, to simply say the existing conditions plan, in my opinion, fulfills the obligation of the conceptual site plan, is not enough. It doesn't. It shows a conceptual, and for you to say that you're not changing anything doesn't mean that that's a conceptual site plan. That just means that's an existing condition plan. For one, I can go and say, where are the utilities on there? They're not shown. That's not shown on this 500-foot radius as-built plan that I'm looking at. So that isn't met, all right? It also talks about, item 3C, talks about the applicant shall, note the word shall, which is very important. I've talked about that at nauseam before. It's different than may. Provide general architectural renderings of all unit types. I've not seen that. I've seen some footprints, but a footprint isn't an architectural rendering necessarily. So I'm struggling with that. It also talks about under 3D, I'm just going to read it, any additional information that a commission may deem pertinent in order to evaluate the rezoning request. The entire approval of the zone, of the art zone, under 4E1, ends with this sentence. The commission shall have sole authority to evaluate and render a determination on any such matters. That means that it's up to us to ask you to give us stuff and up to you to provide that to us in order for us to make an informed decision. I'm not a fan of not making an informed decision. If I were to ask you tonight, and I'm happy to give you additional time for this, to make sure that you go back and provide all the requirements that are listed under 4E7 to the letter, what would be your position on that? I understand, and I say that because you said earlier, or Sev said earlier, that you want this sooner rather than later in no uncertain, not in those words, but that's kind of what you were saying. You want this quickly, because you got a ZBA meeting next week where you're hoping to go to ZBA.
Yeah.
This is the cart, the horse comes later on, right? So if I were to say to you that I need that stuff in order to make an informed decision as a member of this body, what would you respond to that?
On the technical side, on the items that you mentioned you're missing, I would ask Seth to comment on that, because I'm not, obviously I was under the impression that by providing all this aerial and, we're pretty much providing you with all that information. So I'll let Seth talk about that.
Well, let me just talk to that, right? And two, it says that if approved, the conceptual plan, including approved architectural concepts, shall, again, establish the general basis of evaluating the final site plan and special permit. So we need that because it's going to set the basis for any eventual site plan that we may be looking at if it gets through the two hurdles that we outlined earlier. I haven't seen that. I know you're saying you're not going to touch anything, but that to me doesn't mean that that's a architectural concept plan.
Yeah, so the concept that we provided on the, it was prepared by an architect. It doesn't include any code review of any kind, because it's obviously, to get into that, it's a whole nother step within the project. This is more of a feasibility study. If the need is for where the existing, utilities are, the electrical room, I would argue and say that it's irrelevant to what we're looking to do, because all of that is going to have to be redone anyways. So we sort of prepare that, the feasibility more to show you where the units are going to go. We're not touching the parking. In fact, we have more than what we would be required to have based on the unit count. The parks, the exterior, we're not looking to change, to build on them, so that's remaining. Essentially, I think, from my perspective, I think that we've provided sort of the preliminary basis of where we're headed.
Okay. Well, let's get into the weeds a little bit then.
Sure.
Show me a slide up there that shows the above and below-ground utility locations on that site.
Do you have the survey?
That's,
And if there isn't one, you don't have one, you just say, I don't have one. I mean, and that's fine. I'm asking for it.
it's the existing condition map, but there's more information. Can I just respond?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I see the list that you are referring to, and we felt that the existing condition map and this map that's on the screen here represents what's going to be, and we kind of outlined the areas of parking and all that. Now, if you're asking for underground utilities, that's a different story. The existing condition map actually has, and we submitted that, has the drainage on the property. It shows the catch basins. We probably don't show the pipe connections, but we show the catch basins. But to answer your questions, if you asked us to provide it, we can provide the conceptual site plan, which will label it on the title block, conceptual site plan. It will repeat what we presented here and what was submitted, the existing condition map. Will basically repeat the same thing, existing buildings, parking, we're gonna show the signage, we're gonna show the striping, we're gonna show all those things, we can.
Yeah.
The part that I think we have addressed is the, we thought that by presenting this aerial view and the ground level view, give you a sense of the architectural of these buildings. For him to prepare architectural plans of those.
Let me stop right there. So for instance, the existing electrical room, this is the basement of Ligori. The electrical room is right here.
No, but he's not looking for electrical.
No, I understand. I'm saying the electrical, the mechanical room is right here, which is irrelevant for our site plan, since the meters will have to be outside, for example. That's an Eversource requirement. So we haven't gotten there to that step. That's a major step in the project.
Yeah,
We're way before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was here when this regulation was put together. I was here when the commission opined on what we should include in the regulation. I think that the commission at that time did a pretty thorough job of making sure that we put in there all the things that we felt were needed in order to make an informed decision in the best interest of the residents of the town of Southington. That's what it's intended to do. It says that in the purpose, I believe. One of those things talks about, under existing conditions, above and below ground utility locations. It's not me asking you to provide it. It's the regulation that is, important word, requiring you to provide it. I haven't seen that. There's a number of other things that I've already outlined. I won't go back and beat the dead horse again, that the regulation requires you to provide us in order that we can make an informed decision. I personally don't like to be in a position where I'm being asked to make a decision without all the information that is valued by us in order to do that. And so I'm saying if you need more time in order to do that, is that something that you're willing to do, or are you dead set on getting a decision made this evening? I mean, it's black and white, the list there. You can read it off and sit at a desk and provide, okay, this, and this. But I don't think, and I think that part of what you're hearing the struggle with from the public and from us is that we don't have all that information.
Understood. I mean,
Density issues aside,
yeah.
all that other stuff aside, the basic pieces of information that are listed there, we don't have that.
Understood. I mean, if our presentation is incomplete, then we will come back and complete it. We're not looking for you, like you say, we're not looking for you to make a decision if it's not complete and you can't make that educated, decision. We're happy to support with whatever else is needed.
So the decision is yours. Do you feel comfortable that your application is complete? And if so, that's fine.
I
we'll-
felt
we'll
very,
all-
I felt very comfortable
Okay,
before coming here.
and
for
again,
sure.
I mean, the thing that's gonna follow this conversation is whether we close the public hearing, and at the close of the public hearing, it means nothing else can be submitted. And we have to base our decision based on what we have. So I'm just saying that one of the things that the themes that I'm hearing from people here and out there is that we don't have enough information in order to make a decision that you're asking us to make. But if you feel that you've given everything that you need to give by the letter of the regulation, and you're comfortable with that, then we'll proceed accordingly, and wherever the chips fall, they fall. I don't know where they're gonna go. But if you want more time in order to make sure that you fulfilled everything that's required, then I'm happy to give you that additional time to do that.
Like I said, I thought we had everything. I appreciate you bringing it up, and I guess we'll take the time, and we'll read through that and see what else is needed to support
Okay.
it, for sure.
Okay, so just to surmise, to make sure we're on the same page, I just heard you say that you're requesting additional time to gather up additional information to provide to commission. Is that accurate?
We have to.
I guess so, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions to the applicant for members of the commission? Okay, we're going to leave the, Sev?
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
clarify, as we stated, is that we thought that these elevations would give you a good sense of the architectural. I want to make sure that when we come back, we have everything that you need. And I'm asking if we could get a sense that all these elevations that we provide are providing you with the architectural end of it. In addition, we provided the internal layout, which shows the one-bedroom and studio apartments. If that suffice, we will not go into creating multiple architectural elevations for all these buildings, but we will address the site plan issue, the existing condition issue, and the other items that you mentioned.
Well, the term that's used is provide general architectural renderings for all unit types. So I'm looking for general architectural renderings for all unit types.
Yeah,
If there's only one unit type,
Yeah.
then you only need to provide one general architectural rendering. If
problem
there's
is the
15,
architect-
we need 15.
The architectural rendering relates to the elevations like that. So when you have multiple units within that envelope, how are you going to represent individual unit architectural plans? The internal part, we can do and we have done, but the external envelope, that's what it is, and you cannot separate it individually. So we gotta have some.
I think that's part of the challenge of what you all are taking on by proposing what you're proposing. And it's not a challenge that's provided by me or anybody else. It's provided by the site as it sits today. And if they want to develop it in that manner, then that's the challenge that they have to overcome, right?
We'll discuss with the architect
Okay.
what the best way to present that is.
Okay.
I'm just, understand where I'm coming from, guys. I'm just trying to make sure we have the information that we need, that's all. Commissioner Orlowski, followed by Commissioner
With
Britton.
all due respect, guys, I mean, this is a brochure from the college. I mean, it's
Yeah, but it
it's
is.
showing you the building. I get that, but I mean, you could have at least cut and pasted it out and put it together with something else, so. that
Yeah,
it
we
didn't
can
have-
do that like
You know,
this. This
I'm
is,
just saying,
you know,
you
a
know,
building, same thing. It is a picture.
It's not the level of presentation, Seb, that we're used to from you.
Okay, well, we'll do better next time. But these architectural elevations represent what these buildings will look like, because that's an existing condition, but we'll bring forward the additional information.
Yeah, it's your application, guys. You bring forward what you think fulfills the letter of the regulation. Commissioner Britton has a,
Yeah, I was just going to add the same thing that my fellow commissioner said. Could we also get a copy of this too? Because we don't have anything on record, us as the commission. So whatever you produce for next meeting, could you just make sure we have a copy?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
and that would require, I believe, that staff throws our packets together sometime around the Friday before the meetings, because we generally get the agendas on those Fridays, so, and then it goes on the public, on the website, so the public can look at it as well, so, and I appreciate, that. Is there anything else for members of the commission before we?
Yeah, I just want to bring up one more time, Mr. Chair, that we are planning on getting our own council's opinion on this.
I
correspondence.
didn't hear that we made a plan to do that, no.
Oh, I thought we were discussing it. Could we have our council review this opinion from the applicant's counsel?
I believe we could, sure,
Thank you.
sure. I'll forward your request over to our town attorney tomorrow. I'll copy you in on that too, so you know it's done.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And if you don't see it by Thursday, please
I'll ring the bell.
give me a nudge and make sure I get that done, so. Okay, anything else? The public hearing is remaining open, so we'll be back in 2 weeks and we can continue the conversation at that time. Thank you for listening and endeavoring to do what we've talked about.
Thank you.
I think it's better for everybody.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. All right. With that, let's move on to the business meeting. Item 10, again, is PGX Holdings. We're looking for a table on this.
Do we need a motion on that?
Table.
Just a table for the hearing itself.
Do we need a motion to keep it open? It's not tabled, it's just left open. We've never done a motion to keep it open.
All right, I just wanted consensus that, the record.
Okay, all right. Can we get a motion to keep the public hearing open on the last item?
So moved.
Commissioner Coles, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Britton, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go. Item 10A, PGX Holdings LLC. We're going to look for a table on this. We still have an open public hearing here. Can we get a motion to table, please?
I'll make a motion to table ZC number 580.
Motion from Commissioner Woloski. Is there a second?
I'll second
Commissioner Chaplinsky? I'll get you before the night's through, Tessa. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10B, Nelson Shepherd floodplain filling application seeking to perform work in a wetland upland review area and floodplain for the replacement of bridge number 04560 Newell Street over the Quinnipiac River, property located at Newell Street, FF 280.
Can I plug this into my laptop?
I don't think so.
You can if you've got a HDMI cable.
I mean, can I?
I think we did last.
Yeah, I mean.
If you have an
we did this
HDMI
in-
cable,
in
it
the
will
web, and
actually
They didn't have
work.
a laptop, if
Yeah.
we didn't have a laptop. So we brought one this time and didn't bring.
I think so. I think it's just
a
the
USB.
HDMI.
With HDMI, it'll work.
I just didn't
Mind
mind.
if
We have information in our packet. Is there anything beyond that that you have, that you want to show us? I mean, it includes like project description, drinking water section letter, flood hazard plan. Does it include anything beyond that, or,
We have a little presentation.
okay?
Yeah, security wise, we really don't.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, last time we used it.
you don't have it on a thumb drive or anything like that? Okay. Why don't you talk your way through it, I guess?
Oh, really?
Yeah, could you do that?
Yeah.
The old days, the old days you used boards, right?
So last
HDMI, it's a projector.
month, we.
Let's start
Somebody
with your,
else had
let's
a
start with your
laptop that we
name and
used.
your address, just so we can get it on the record. Go
All right.
ahead.
I'm Greg Garish with VHB, and they are the liaison engineer for the town and the Department of Transportation.
Okay.
And
Could you give me an address on VHP, please?
100 Great Meadow Road, Weathersfield.
Yeah, no one's gonna check you, so if you're off by a couple buildings, that's
Yeah,
fine.
we've been VHB for 2 months, so it's, and I remember that,
It's good
impressed.
practice then, you gotta
Yeah.
learn where you're located, so,
Yeah.
go ahead, Greg, go.
So you don't want me to plug this in and,
I don't think that our security, our IT security is gonna be comfortable with that.
Are we sure? There's more risk.
I
with
just
plugging
don't
the
think that,
USB.
I'm not gonna mess with them. I don't wanna trip over a wire where something
so
happens.
last month in the wetlands meeting, that's what we did.
Is that what happened?
We used somebody else's laptop. This
Yeah.
decision's been made.
Yeah, could you just talk your way through it, Greg, as
Sure.
best as you can?
All right, so this is a bridge project, so a bridge replacement project. We're here for a floodplain filling application. It's a bridge replacement of Newell Street over the Quinnipiac River, so it's Bridge 4560. It's state project number 131208. There's a state project number as the state is administering the project, and this is a town of Southington bridge, so they are the applicant on all permit applications. The bridge is located 0.2 of a mile north of West Queen Street and 1/10 of a mile south of Redstone Street. It's a commercial area. It's, to the north of it is Yard Metals, and there is one residential property to the south. It's mostly commercial in the area. The reason that we're replacing the bridge is it's in a deteriorated condition, structurally deficient, so the superstructure has deteriorated rebar, it has leakage, and has been inspected over the years by DOT and determined that it needs to be replaced. It is also scour susceptible, so we'll be addressing those with the replacement of the bridge. The bridge is located in a FEMA Zone AE and FEMA floodway, and that's why we're here. So the bridge replacement, you said you have plans, right?
Say that?
You have plans, right?
Yes.
The
Yeah, we have a site plan, yep.
project plan. So, the existing bridge is a 32.5-foot span. It's being widened to 44 feet. Other than that, the elevation does not change much. We're installing new drainage to address some roadway drainage issues and improve water quality. Those drainage, the new pipe, so there is new double boxes and new catch basins on the north side being installed, and then new structures being installed to replace the old ones on the south side with a new outlet rather than through the abutment faces directly. It will be going through the riprap aprons and flared end walls to dissipate the energy, lower the velocity, and trap sediment before going into the stream. Stream bed material will be placed where the old abutments are being removed, and yeah, let me just go by this one by one. So the 100-year floodplain elevation is 163.7. The low chord of the bridge is 160.11. So in order to get above the 100-year flood elevation, this bridge would have to be raised more than 3.5 feet. So this may be a question that's coming, but we looked at this in depth. This project is 3 years in. We've gone through all of the design, all of the review. It's been interagency. It's been approved by DEEP and Army Corps. So we discussed this with Army Corps and DEEP, and have gotten approval. It's basically infeasible. There would be a significant amount of fill required, so 3.5 feet of fill. We'd have a lot of impacts to the wetlands, the floodplain specifically. And this would raise, this would increase the floodway elevation to just raise it a foot. So what we're, by increasing the hydraulic adequacy here, by increasing the span rather than going higher in elevation, we are, creating equal or greater conveyance through the structure, and we are actually lowering the floodway elevation by a couple tenths of a foot, and so we're maintaining the flood capacity of the stream, if not slightly increasing it. And by opening the bridge, we are increasing the conveyance through the structure as well. So there are some wetlands and, well, there's watercourse impacts and minimal wetland impacts. There's 470 square feet of total watercourse impacts. These have been, we've gone to the Inland Wetlands Board and had these approved, as well as DEEP and Army Corps. So the floodplain impacts, with the most of the project site is within the floodplain and the floodway. We have a net net cut of 185 cubic yards, so that's, meets the requirements of the floodplain filling application. It increases the flood conveyance and capacity of the floodplain. So, yeah, back to raising the bridge. If we were to raise the bridge, like I said, it'd be more than 3.5 feet of fill at the bridge, which would be significant increases in scope, cost, and schedule. Basically be, raising the entire roadway 3.5 to 4 feet. So we're much above all the adjoining driveways, and so it'd be significant impacts to the local businesses, the local residents, as well as, an extra 1,000 feet of roadway work in each direction. And like I said, the increased fill in the floodway and floodplain requiring FEMA coordination, so that pushed this project back at least a year to get permits with floodway, and would certainly require compensatory storage, as we'd have a significant amount of fill in the floodplain and floodway. So basically what we're doing with this project is we're increasing the safety of the roadway by replacing the bridge with a bridge that meets current highway and structural standards. The scour will be eliminated by increasing the bridge hydraulics, and the substructure itself will be designed for up to a 500-year storm, and minimizing impacts to the floodway and the environment. We've already received state flood management certificate, so we've done the state flood management permitting process. It's been a couple of years, and all the reports have been approved. Flood management certificate was approved just a couple of weeks ago. We will be submitting for Army Corps 404 pre-construction notification, as well as DEEP pre-construction notification, and that's really pending the approval here to attach to the application. And we have Town of Southington in the wetlands permit already approved, and the schedule itself the project is anticipated to start next spring. So that's, I'll show you all the pretty pictures. That's it off the
Great.
top. So
Greg, are you a licensed professional engineer?
I am.
You're licensed by the state of Connecticut as a professional engineer. You have certain duties and responsibilities in order to obtain and maintain that licensure, correct?
I do.
One of them is to certify that any stamped drawing that you provide meets and conforms to acceptable standards. And in addition to our regulations, which require that those standards meet our regulations as well. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
And you know Jim Grappone, who's our town engineer, who's also a professional engineer over here?
Yep.
Yeah, and you've spoken, or someone in your firm has spoken to our engineering department, and you both have concluded that this meets the regulations of the town of Southington?
Yes. We
Yes?
have, we've
Jim, would you?
have a lot of
would you
back and forth
confirm
with
that?
Jim.
Yes, yep. We've been working together with CJM and also VHB on this project and DLT.
I believe our floodplain regulations designate the director of planning as the administrator. So Dave, are you satisfied that this meets the regulations as well?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, all the checklist items were addressed.
Okay.
To my satisfaction.
All right. Any questions of the applicant from anyone else on this commission? I commend you, Greg, for the great job that you did, and I love your enthusiasm for your job.
Appreciate it.
good job. We're looking for a motion on this. Tessa?
Help me. I
Yeah.
motion that we approve FF 280.
Okay, Commissioner Ma with a well-worded motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Keard with a second. Is there any discussion? Do we need a roll on this?
Sure, I'll do a quick one.
Okay, yeah, give us one.
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Ma?
Yes.
Commissioner Card?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Lowski?
Yes.
Chair Hammerson?
I guess 7-0. Motion carries. Congratulations. Nice job.
Thank you.
Administrative items, do we have anything?
No.
Okay. Receipt of new applications, anything you want to talk about there? It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to do this administratively. I will send out the information package to you, but the council's approved it already. Just requires a site plan modification, which seems a little beyond what's typically required. It's usually a zoning permit, but under the new regs, it was written that it had to go through such process, probably because the scale of some of them. This is just 2 stanchions.
Where is this?
Downtown Plantsville Green, that parking lot that surrounds the green.
Oh,
It's on
okay.
near the Dunkin' Donuts side of it.
Yeah. Any objection to having this done administratively? I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. I don't think there's a need to hold it up.
SPR 1894?
I can't hear you.
We're talking about SPR 1894, the one listed?
Yes. You
Yeah,
okay
no
with that?
concerns.
Yes or no? You okay with it? All
I'm
right.
good. Yeah.
I'm getting this, I'm getting this, I don't know. like-
Yes, I'm okay with it. Figure that out.
I'm confused, yeah. Okay, so Dave, I think that we're good with that. You can go ahead and do that.
Great, thank
Move that along. Anything else before we look for a motion? Commissioner Britton?
Chairman, I don't know if we finished the POCD committee vote. It got interrupted when we forgot to seat somebody, so do we want to do that now or hold that?
Did we finish that, Dave?
I have it as approved, but
I think we did a voice vote on
A
that.
voice, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we stopped it, so I'll make sure.
Yeah.
I'm good if you guys are good.
I wasn't seated, but there were more than 6 at the time, and I have no issues with the final selection.
Okay, so Kat has put it on the record that she has no issues with the proposed subcommittee, so we're good.
All right.
Thanks, Rob. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Commissioner Britton, second.
Second.
Commissioner Chaplinsky, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?